What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. In today's video I will share with you a little secret I recently found, but for now, let's get straight to the point, talk about some ridiculous Russian propaganda. Okay, today we have this picture, which, I mean, there's nothing propaganda about this one, I just found it really funny. So basically it's like a traffic jam, you can see a small SUV and behind is another truck, and basically on the back shield of this small SUV is a writing which says don't get too close. This writing, these letters are so big I cannot see anything. I mean, yes, the guy put a warning sign on his back shield saying that he cannot see anything because of this sign. I mean, yes, makes sense, right? But yes, there is more. So this truck which is right behind him, it also has a sticker in the bottom part of this door, and basically says, don't get too close to me. Even though this is a glass and technically I'm supposed to see through it, I will still not see you if you're going to be very close to me, so don't get too close. Yes, and these guys, they are now extremely close to each other. Just found it funny. Alright, so here is this secret I promised to share. Long story short, we are planning to have a trip soon, and obviously it involves buying plane tickets, renting a car, renting a hotel. And so whenever I was shopping for those things, I discovered a very interesting thing. The prices are actually different depending on the country where you buy those things from, whether it's Canada or America. The very same flights, the very same rental cars, the very same hotels, they are priced different depending on the location where you opened the website. And I'm not even talking about the difference in currencies. I'm not talking about these prices in Canadian dollars, this price in US dollars. No. If you put these prices under the same single currency, they will be literally different. This phenomena I recently discovered is called the price discrimination. But you guys, you can avoid it by simply switching your location using a VPN service, such as, for example, in my case, the Surfshark VPN. Just switch your location, for example, to the US, Mexico, Colombia, or at this point any other country you want, keep refreshing the page, and you will see that the prices will be updated. This feature alone already saved me some money, which, by the way, if you think about it, it kinda paid for itself for its own Surfshark VPN subscription. Kinda makes me feel like I just hacked the system. And another nice feature of Surfshark VPN is that it adds an extra layer of protection whenever using internet. Specifically, this is useful whenever you use public Wi-Fi's, airports, Starbucks, McDonald's, public places, you name it. I don't remember even myself personally using a public Wi-Fi without turning on my VPN first. Besides that, Surfshark VPN does have its own antivirus, its own search engine which leaves no trace online, and even alerts whenever your personal information gets leaked online. And everything I just mentioned you can bundle together for just $1 extra, and this one is called the subscription Surfshark One. And for you guys, the viewers of this channel, I was able to get a pretty nice deal from Surfshark VPN, which basically means if you do use my link down below and apply code RussianDude, you'll get 4 months extra. And no worries, there is 30 days money back guarantee, so it literally does not hurt to even try. Once again, just please use my link down below, apply code RussianDude, and as always, thanks so much Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video. Now back to the program. Alright, okay, now let me give you a brief update from the southern and eastern Ukrainian front lines, and that Russian cities are getting more and more on fire. To begin with, our first stop brings us to Crimea, where local residents reported some very loud noises. Reportedly, Ukrainians later acknowledged that they did launch several attacks, and basically their target was the entire air defense complex of Russians, which consisted of radars, air defense systems such as S-400s. Reportedly, this one was destroyed, and the estimated value of this entire complex is approximately $1.2 billion. Some more loud noises came to us from Rostov. This is already on the territory of Russia, from the direction of the local military airfield Morozovsk. And according to, once again, local residents, there were some drone noises before this. As always, Russian propaganda said they intercepted everything, but well, these big fireworks, they prove otherwise. Reportedly, a pretty big munition warehouse of Russians was destroyed. Next to Vovchansk front line, Ukrainians were able to repel advancing Russians and even destroy some small assault group. And then along Kharkov front line, Ukrainians used the night vision FPV drone, and as a result of this, one of the Russian military armored vehicles, RBU-6000, it basically ceased to exist. Ukrainians were also able to repel two other relatively big attempts by Russians next to Stelmachivka and also in Kupyansk. And then in Crimean, Ukrainians are using vampires to destroy Russian armored fortifications, trenches and tunnels. Next is the video from Konstantinivka, where Russians launched another offensive, and as this relatively big mechanized convoy, Ukrainians saw it on time and even prevented this entire attempt even before it started. But unfortunately, Russians, by sending troops after troops and waves after waves, they were able to achieve some progress during the last month of July. For example, right here you can see a map which shows the changes in territorial control in the east. Specifically, Russians were able to advance closer to New York and Nilipivka. And then in another crucial direction, next to major city Pokrovsk, which if you remember is literally on the intersection of major roads, which lead to other major cities. So long story short, Russians were able unfortunately to advance closer to Pokrovsk as well after capturing settlement called Vesely. But just like mentioned like 20 seconds ago, yes, this seemingly success of the Z army comes at enormous costs. At this point it is not just Ukrainians, but the Western media also acknowledges that Putin is rapidly running both out of soldiers, most likely single-use soldiers, how he most likely considers them, and also the military equipment. First of all, speaking about the military equipment, you remember the most recent major attempt by Russians was next along Kharkov front line. As a result of this, they were able to kind of just partially and temporarily enter Vovchansk, then Ukrainians were able to push them out of the city, and that's pretty much it. Yes, during this offensive, tens of thousands of soldiers were used, along with hundreds of pieces of military equipment. Majority of them never left Kharkov front line. And these losses did not just start or intensify recently, they were pretty much enormous since the beginning of this so-called special military operation. For this reason, it is estimated by even the most conservative estimations that Russians already went through most of their modern military equipment, and the most recent military parades in Moscow and in other cities they simply confirm it. We used to see dozens of tanks, dozens of infantry fighting vehicles, armored personnel carriers. Now there's just literally one of each class, and that's it. And for example, one of the most trustworthy sources, the Oryx, it mentions that since the beginning of the invasion, Russians lost approximately 3,235 only tanks. For this reason, one of the most obvious solutions that Russians see, besides trying to increase the output of these particular vehicles, is to uncover museum exhibitions. Literally tanks and other military vehicles which were already just put on pedestals, just or put as monuments, well, nothing else to do. They literally took tanks which were like 70-year-old ones or less, the ones which they were using in Chechen and Afghan wars, and they started to reuse them. But it is estimated that 70% of them at least are not even gonna start without major mechanical repairs. So besides them being extremely old, well, majority of them will not even show up in Ukraine at all. And speaking about the soldiers, as you can see from this most updated statistic, Russians are getting very close to already 600,000, which is far above the figure Putin had in his mind whenever he started 3-day invasion into Kiev. But it does not matter. On average, approximately 1,100 Russian Z soldiers are being left in Ukraine forever, and it is also estimated that Russia is capable of only mobilizing approximately 25,000 soldiers per month. It does not take to be a mathematical genius to multiply 1,100 by 30, we get 33,000, right? So 25,000 mobilized, 33,000 losses. As you can see, well, the losses, they outpace the inflow. The main reason for this is obviously absolute negligence by the Russian military commandment. They just have a target, they just have an assignment to capture this, to capture that, no matter the cost, and they do it quite literally, no matter the cost. It has also been noted at this point by some Z propagandistic Telegram channels, and this is just based on the stories from the Z soldiers themselves, that sometimes they have to unite forces, they have to unite brigades or battalions from completely different parts of the army, for example paratroopers and marines, and just bring them all in one place, even though they have absolutely different training and expectations, but it is just such a severe shortage that there is nothing else to do besides this. And even the most recent sign-up bonuses which Russia proposes to Russian men, they reached already at this point like $20,000 to $30,000 in major cities such as Moscow, St. Petersburg, even one-time minimal bonuses of like $4,000 or so, which can be life-changing for Russians who live like in Siberian regions or in very distant regions where this money can literally be equal to their annual salary. This is the attempt by the Russian authorities to bring as many people into the army as possible. But wait, there is more, because there are two seemingly allies of Putin who also recently, let's call it like this, betrayed him. Not exactly fully betrayed, did not say now we are supporting Ukraine, but this is just one of the steps towards this full betrayal. The countries I'm talking about is China and Brazil. And basically what they said is that these countries jointly, they proposed their own vision of peace plan between Russia and Ukraine. They don't want fighting, they don't want escalation anymore. And this plan includes also telling Putin literally to stop, because like, you might consider us allies, but we don't care, you just have to stop. This Chinese-Brazilian peace plan is already being supported by more than 110 countries around the world, and it has three main principles. First of all is to cool down the situation, the second principle is to stop the hostilities completely, and the third principle is to not expand the hostilities in the future to new territories. Then both sides of the conflict, including Ukraine and Russia, will have to sit at the table of negotiations and talk, because this is how all the wars in the past were ending, through peace negotiations. And if either of the sides do not want to do it, well, recently it is Russia who is saying, yeah, we never decline peace talks, but we're not gonna talk with Ukraine. So in case this happens once again, Brazil and China, they can literally, they want to take just Putin almost by hand and just say sit and talk. Then there's obviously must not be attacks against the civilian infrastructure, and the rights of POWs must be respected. There is a total, absolute prohibition on use by either sides of extraordinary weapons, either it's biological or nuclear. It is just a total ban. And ultimately, all the other peace-related activities, whether it can be, for example, grain exports, oil exports, this should not be used as a means of militarization, and this should just continue outside of the scope of activities, out of the scope of hostilities. And once again, this comes from two countries which participate in BRICS, which is once again Brazil and China, which are supposedly the direct allies of Putin. Well, as you can see, fewer and fewer, even his closer friends, they want him to continue this so-called special military operation. I mean, everyone wants peace at this point. Well, there have it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video. All the other links are down below. Thanks so much for watching. See you on Tuesday.